Hello, everyone. This is Lori, and I'm very grateful you have taken time in this moment to listen to my How Do You Spirit podcast. The purpose of my podcast is to share your spiritual stories with the world. There are many different ways that we all spirit, and so many subjects to talk about and share. Let's all learn from each other, and hopefully, we will be able to touch many lives and help to make this world a better place. You can find my podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and other podcast platforms. Let's get started. Hello to all of the listeners out there. We have another episode of How Do You Spirit, and today I have with me Stace, and she is going to tell us her incredible spiritual journey story. This is an episode that you just don't want to miss. Welcome, Stace. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, Lori.
You're welcome. So how did you start your spiritual journey? Like, from where did it start to how you are today?
Good question. Thank you for asking me. Okay, so I grew up in a family. We went to church every Sunday. I was exposed to organized religion. It was a pretty strict upbringing.
Okay.
Following the guidelines, And I think about the time I hit 14, 15, I knew I wasn't connecting with, I didn't feel anything about it.
Wasn't resonating with you.
Not at all. And so I kind of fell off. I stopped going to church. And when I started having kids, I was like, I'm not raising them like that. Like, I have to.
Forcing something.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't know what else was out there because all I had been exposed to was organized religion.
Right.
So I fell off, that, like, I'm not doing it. And that kind of, going through a divorce and fell into a really bad relationship. And it just got kind of really dark for me.
Mm-hmm.
And in a very abusive relationship on a lot of levels. And kind of how it started was I had lost I had a few friends, but I had lost contact. I was addicted to some drugs at the time, and I was just in a really super bad place. And this was and reflecting back now, I know that the universe or God or however you identify gave me a huge awakening moment to where I was at a friend's apartment and there was a knock at the door at like 2 a.m. And I don't know why I answered the door.
Because that's kind of scary.
I know. But when you're on certain drugs, door knocks.
You probably don't care.
Right. And so I answered the door, and we were on the second level. There was one guy at the door and 3 other men came up the stairs, and they came into the apartment with sawed-off shotguns.
Oh my!
And pulled the guy's apartment that I was staying with. He pulled him out of bed and put us on our knees, and were asking us questions about a girl that had been there earlier. Let's get to the point. It scared the crap out of me. Like, I was terrified. And
like, did they have guns like pointing at you and all, like you see in the movies kind of thing? Oh my goodness.
It was terrifying.
Wow.
And that's when I was like, that was my universe, like, wake up.
Slapping you across the face.
So I called my parents. I begged for help, and they moved me. They bought me a ticket to fly back from Phoenix to Salt Lake City.
Okay.
So that was then I didn't realize at the time what a transition that was going to be for me. And then I lost my best friend. And this is where it all changed for me, because I really didn't believe in anything at this point in my life.
Okay.
Nothing. You died, you were dead. That was it.
So there was nothing beyond death.
No, nothing.
Okay.
Dead zero. I had I didn't even know.
Okay.
So my best friend's killed in a motorcycle accident. And I had a dream that was so incredibly cool and vivid. And he came to me and told me that he was fine. And we had this like really great conversation. And that's when I knew, like, that next day I woke up and I was like, there is something else. Like, I knew it beyond a shadow of a doubt. So everything happened for a reason.
Yes.
The guns got pulled. I moved. Tim passed away. I found this, like, there is something else now. How can I explore that? So years went by, and I found yoga. So that was the next step to my
Growth.
my finding spirit and connecting to something that I believed in, breathing. I found myself more at peace. So not an easy transition. I thought about it for about a year, but I was like, I want to be a yoga teacher. I want to teach yoga. And so I went through my first yoga teacher training back in like 2014. So it had been quite a few years before or after my friend passed away that I did
I have
that.
a question.
Sure.
Has he came and visited you since?
He's been with me ever since.
Awesome. I love that. That's so
For sure.
special.
I can sense him around me.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty cool because I had said to my sister at one point a couple of years ago, I don't think Tim's with me anymore. Like I don't really feel him around me.
Uh-huh.
And I happen to have on a local radio station, I can't remember what the name of it is, but I had my Shazam Think app open and there was this really great song that came on the radio.
Uh-huh.
So I Shazammed it.
Uh-huh.
And I realized when the name came up that when Tim and I would hang out on his property up in north of Phoenix, before he passed away, we would always listen to this one cassette tape, and it was David Gray. But I had forgotten about it.
Right.
And the song, as soon as I saw the name, that was my sign.
Yes.
I saw David Gray, and I was like, oh, oh. So I got off the freeway, and I had to cry because I was just so overwhelmed. I'm like, he's still with me.
Yay!
Like, he's still here. And
So
interestingly enough, I went through a lot of my playlists over years that I had been teaching yoga, like 4 years of playlists. And he was on, like, David Gray was on a ton of my playlists, and I didn't realize it at that moment.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, he's been with me the whole time.
Yeah, so aha moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that was a big, so I know he's still here. And then of course the feather in your office today.
Yep. Tell real quick about the feather.
I had a reading done a few years ago, and Tim was there, my friend, and he's my guardian angel, him and my grandmother.
Yep.
And the sign that the gal that was doing my reading, she said, the sign that he sends to you to remind you, not just the music, because she figured that out later, but she said it's feathers. And then I came in and sat down today.
Yep.
So he's here with me now.
Yes. And you've been here before and you didn't notice the feather.
No.
So yes. So everyone out there, I have crystal collection and I've got some sage and stuff. And I have my little feather that I use when I sage. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And it makes me feel really like supported.
Yeah. It's a comfort thing too, right?
It is.
Yeah. And sometimes I think we need those, or we have those aha moments where we forget the little things, and then all of a sudden, I've had that happen to me years later. Something happens, like, oh my gosh, yes,
that's what that
the
was.
light bulb goes off.
Yeah. So it's been a great experience to just have the support of loved ones that have passed on around me.
Yes.
And being able to feel that support too.
It's so special. It's such a to have them around and do it, because even though they're not here physically, for us to wrap our arms around them, but the support that they can really truly give us from amazing.
It is.
Amazing. So you went through that, you got held at gunpoint, you came back to Utah.
Yeah, which I did not want to be here, I'll be honest.
You had addiction issues.
Yes.
Okay. So you come back to Utah and decide to get into yoga.
I found out that studying the history of yoga just beyond the practice, that just opened up my connection even more. Like reading the sutras and the Gita, studying the history of yoga, and then of course I started my meditation in addition. So it started out at first as a silent meditation, and I was doing my yoga practices almost every day, sometimes twice a day, and I really got into the meditation. And there was a local gal here that I met during my yoga teacher training. She's passed away, but her name was Lorraine, and she introduced me to chanting. And that's where things started to change. Like the vibration when you're chanting out loud with your mala beads, there's this whole other level of meditation that goes on when you're chanting those Sanskrit words.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got this really like calming, energetic feeling in my head and my face, like very almost like numbing in a way. And I was like, wow. And that practice got stronger and stronger. And I started reading books on that kind of meditation, was very committed to all of that. Never.
You were raising your vibration.
I didn't realize at the time when I started that years ago that vibration, there's a healing property to that. So it can be your voice and a lot of other things too. So I didn't, and then that's kind of like strong, everything's going good. I got a vaccine.
Because you were going to travel, right?
I was going on a trip. I was told I needed a yellow fever vaccine. And
could you not go?
I went. I did go on the trip as sick as I was.
But did you, were they saying you can't go on this trip unless you get this? Okay. So it was a requirement. So
that's what they said.
Okay.
So immediately the next day, this was in 2018, I started experiencing they said flu-like symptoms. I was well beyond that. I was crying, depressed, nauseated. It was just weird. And I didn't even connect it with the vaccine because my husband, I was out of town at the time, which was terrible. I came home 4 or 5 days later and he had been kind of sick for a couple of days.
Right.
I was absolutely in the worst place I've ever been. It was worse in my head than getting unaddicted on my own from drugs. It was so intense and so scary. And I couldn't do chanting anymore. I couldn't.
So just physically you couldn't?
I was too sick. I was so sick. I couldn't even, and so depressed that I couldn't even pick up my mala beads. Like they just sat on my nightstand. And here was a practice I had been so committed to for years. Every day there wasn't a day that went by that I didn't chant.
Oh my God.
And I missed it, but I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. I don't know. I just got really, really sick and I contemplated taking my own life. I couldn't find a speck of myself in my body anymore. Like, I'm like, who is this person?
Right.
I don't recognize her. I didn't go to yoga because I was too sick. I couldn't eat. So
how long were you, excuse me, how long were you sick for?
Really, really sick for over a year, 18 months.
Oh my goodness.
Really sick.
Wow.
And I'm still suffering side effects from that vaccine. But I started to emotionally try and pull myself out of it because I shared with my son that I was considering not being on this planet anymore. And he just said, Mom, if you do that, I'm right behind you. Well, I've got 2 grandkids. And that was my wake up call. Like, what am I doing?
Right.
Like, who am I going to affect? Okay. But I had been getting rid of stuff because I didn't want my husband. The whole house is getting like emptied out. My clothes are, you
were like just preparing to
be gone.
Go down that. Wow.
And then that day happened and I figure out a different way to get better. I was going back to yoga occasionally. I think about 2 years ago, I started doing investigation on my own about sound healing.
Okay.
And singing bowls back when I was first introduced to them in Sound with Lorraine, that was like back in 2014. So a lot of time had gone by and I remembered how connected I felt whenever she would do workshops or she would come and teach at my classes or play at my classes or whatever. It was powerful to have the live music and somebody singing or humming in the background. And I thought, I'm really interested in how far you can go with vibrational healing. And that just kind of led me the next stage in my life as far as investigating different ways to connect to spirit and get something different going in my life that could be healing.
Right.
And I believe this is kind of like this, it's on a very cellular level because we all have vibrations in our body. flowers have vibrations, animals,
Yes.
rocks, all of this. The earth is a vibrational place that we live.
Right.
And it did help me begin to heal a little bit more on my spiritual side. I'm definitely connected to the universe. The universe is the big tap, tap, tap.
Right.
As we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
like, hello, there's something you're supposed to be getting out of that whole experience of being ill, or something had to come out of that. So I'm exploring
Yes.
what I was supposed to gain from that experience. And still, it's taken me, like, look how long, 5 years or so has gone by, and I'm still
quite a
like,
while.
what's happening here?
So when you got to discovering, interested in the sound part of it, how much time had passed for that? Like, was it a couple years after that whole vaccine thing happened? 3 years. So you were in this dark place, say 3 years-ish?
On and off. The worst part was the first 18 months.
Uh-huh.
And then I started really, like, getting hard on myself about
Something needs to change.
mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because it's not a good way to wake up every day.
Oh.
And I needed a lot of help, and I felt really alone at that time. I just felt like I was just completely, and COVID, so
Yeah.
additional isolation on top of that. It was really a struggle, really.
Wow.
I think everybody struggled through COVID.
Absolutely. It was a life change.
Yeah.
It interrupted our daily routine.
It did give me time to research different ways to move forward in my life and explore started doing breath work a lot more.
Uh-huh.
And then decided to do the sound healing training
Uh-huh.
just to reconnect with something different. So
Uh-huh.
that's I really feel like everybody's journey looks different and feels
Absolutely.
different.
Yes.
And I would judge myself like, oh, you're not chanting. Oh, you're not doing this. Oh, you're not going to yoga as much. You're not doing your breath work classes. You're not. And then I thought, but you're doing the best that you can today. And it's
Right.
been an evolution through my whole life. Like, even thinking back to when I was just, under 10 years old till now in my 60s, it's like there's been so many times the universe has just really protected me
Yes.
and supported me
Uh-huh.
and loved me and allowed me to transform myself. And then I look at all the different things I've learned. It makes my heart feel so warm,
Uh-huh.
and it makes me super emotional because I feel super lucky to
Uh-huh.
have had the experiences that I've had.
Right.
Because I wouldn't be the person that I am today if I hadn't had those experiences.
Right.
Has it cost me relationships? Yes, unfortunately.
But your soul's grown. So do you feel like then the universe really has supported you and has your back and is there for you when, something challenging or hard, or I mean, you've had a lot of hard stuff.
I mean, I can see where there might be times that the universe has, like, literally saved my life.
Yeah.
Like, giving me eye-opening things, but saved me at the same time. So
Yeah.
I'm still alive.
Yes.
And I'm still walking. I'm still upright. I'm enjoying life the best that I can. I should say it like that.
Right.
But definitely, I always feel like if I live to 100, I will look at another 40 years of stuff, right? Like, I have 40 more years, or 30, or whatever the case may be, of new ways to explore connecting to the universe in all kinds of different ways. Because I'm like, look at where I'm at now. Imagine where I'll be then.
Exactly. We can only keep growing and growing and growing. And that's why I'm so passionate about doing this podcast and to people like you, because we all need to hear each other's stories. And there's just so much more out there that we can all learn and grow from.
I agree. And it's kind of fun when you do network with other people, or you hear other people's stories that you'll be like, oh, I felt like that before. Oh, I love her perspective on that. Or
yes, I listen to a lot of books, that different authors will say, oh, well, you need to do this or do that. And it's like, no, that doesn't work for me. We all have to find our own place, spirit, however or whatever that is. You got started or interested in the sound. Tell us about that.
Yes. So part of the training, we had the option to do a drum build.
Okay.
And for years I was vegan, and I have added protein fish back into my diet. But I don't eat meat. but I was like, I really want to, I don't know why. I was like, I want to do that drum build. And I don't know if I absolutely was aware of what the whole, I know I did not know what the process was going to be like,
Right.
but I went to build my drum. And, we start out with the creative ring, painting of the ring that's going to, you're going to wrap the animal skin around. And I just loved the fact that Cherie, when right before we picked out the skin of the elk that we were doing, that she had said, you're giving this animal life, like forever. This drum will outlive you.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what do I want to share? Like, what am I looking to do? Like, what's my mantra here? Like, they had drumming going on and they had sage burning, and we went and each of us got to pick out a skin. They were in a cooler in a bag. And then we stood in front of the sage area, and I was just thinking, I had a feeling that it was a female. And I was just like, we are going to spread so much love and healing on the planet. Like, I'm going to love you for the rest of my life. Like, and I was probably standing there for probably 3 minutes or so, just holding that skin in front of that sage and telling her that we were going to spread love and that I loved her and I appreciated it. So we punched the holes, we pulled the drum. And the skin was really light, like a beige, just pure beige.
Yeah.
I took her home. You have to lean it against the wall and rotate it every day so that it dries properly. And I started noticing it was getting pretty dark. Like, a lot of the drum had gotten a lot of really dark brown to almost black or smoky colored streaks in it.
Yes.
But there was this one side towards the outside of the drum where it stayed white, and it was the shape of a heart.
That's so amazing. And everyone, we're going to have a picture because it's an incredible thing, and it's plain as day. Like, it is right there there's no mistaking.
There's no mistaking. It is a heart.
Yes.
On that drum.
And that is such a spiritual experience.
That whole experience was just completely,
I love it,
mind-blowing to me.
Yes.
One of the best experiences of my life, really.
So do you have a name for your drum?
No.
Okay. It's just her or she.
Yep.
Okay. And that's fine.
Yeah.
I was just curious if you had named her.
No, she's just my girl.
Yeah.
She's my girl.
That is great. That's awesome.
My husband's extremely musical. I am not. I can't read music. None of that's going on. So
Same.
I really liked getting into kind of like sound, because you don't have to read music to do sound healing. Rain sticks, chimes, drumming, hand pans, tambourines, whatever you want. You don't have to read music to do any of that. You just have to read the energy in the room, right?
Yes.
You have to know what
you have to feel it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I decided my husband and I should go together and do a drum build. So we did a buffalo drum and went through the process. And my second drum that I built when I was doing my sage cleansing, I said, this drum is going to be about healing from the inside out, because I had been so sick and I needed to heal from the inside out. And I started punching the holes in my drum. And as we were even sitting there, I noticed on the inside skin, there were these 3 red dots. And so after I tied the drum, I flipped it over, and there were 3 on the outside. And the gal said, those are ambers, probably from a fire.
Wow.
And it burned through, and the animal healed from the inside out. And I was like, no.
Oh, I just got the chills.
I was like, oh my gosh, that was the intention that I was setting.
Yes.
Of course, I start crying, because I'm just like, another huge healing experience for me. And
oh my gosh.
And then it actually really reinforced the power of manifestation. Almost instantly too, on both of those types of things. It's like, wow, and then that's another part of my spiritual journey too, is manifesting now.
Right.
And the power of doing that, like you really do have control.
Yes.
Over a lot,
absolutely.
not everything.
Yep, you do. The key to that, though, too, and with the whole manifesting, is you have to truly believe, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, oh, hey, universe, send me this or that.
Right. Yeah.
You really have to believe in yourself and what asking to
Mm-hmm.
receive, or asking for help to receive. Yeah.
And being open to letting it look like I had no
Yes.
idea that it was
Yes.
going to be that, like, hello, we are listening to you. Like,
Yes.
we're
Oh my
reminding
gosh.
you to pay attention because the signs are there. You just
Yes.
have to.
It's validation,
Mhm.
right? Oh, yeah.
And it might not happen right away, but I
Right.
still put stuff out there with the intent, like, I know sometimes I ask a lot from the universe and I
I think we all do.
and I'm like, but I do feel the manifestation part of it when you set even little goals or little
Mhm.
things that just little signs that not only your guides can give you, but also God, the universe, what higher power, however
Right.
you connect with that part of your life, you
Uh-huh.
know.
You feel then, so how long have you been drumming now for? How long has it
We've
been?
been drumming over a year.
Okay.
So I think I said earlier that I had done the I think I did my sound healing last year about this time actually. It was.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have been drumming for a year.
Oh.
And my husband and I we all do shamanic drumming at night. Just to reset our vibrations
Yeah.
before we go to bed. And
Uh-huh.
and then I do sound baths with friends and
Okay.
I get together in drum circle. Not as
That's
much as I should now, but yeah, it's winter. It's like
I know we don't we don't winters
it's
I don't
cold.
get to go out in nature, and that's where I feel so comfortable is camping and fishing and being on the boat and grounding myself and being in nature. I absolutely love it. I never thought I would be one to just go out on a boat and float around on a lake, but I could go out there for hours and just sit there and just take all
In
the scenery in, and I love it. And yeah, winters in Utah, unless you're a skier, which I am not,
Me either.
or snowboarder. I don't like the winter cold sports. I like to be warm.
Me too. And nature is a really good way to also
Yeah.
connect on a
Mm-hmm.
spiritual level with God's beauty. Like I've been up in the mountains camping and started taking pictures.
Uh-huh.
I think there was a storm coming in and I thought the clouds
Yes.
looked pretty. And I
Yes.
noticed as I was just clicking, because you can't see in the sun, because
Yeah.
so I was just clicking some pictures and I went over to the shade and I started looking at them.
Uh-huh.
And there was an orb that
Oh,
came
nice.
from above the trees. And I looked at like all these 20 pictures I had taken and it came right down to the side of the fire.
I just got the chills again. That's amazing.
It was beautiful, but it's so interesting that you can't see orbs with your eyes,
Right.
but they show up in pictures.
Yeah, that's
And it just traveled all the way down to right by where I was standing. And I was like,
oh, that's amazing. So you talked about sound baths. So what do you use for your sound baths? What does that look like?
so if you're doing group, you kind of have to decide what the intention is going to be,
Okay.
whoever you're doing facilitating with,
Uh-huh.
so that because you're not working one-on-one. So it can be
Okay.
a little bit more challenging because different people are going to react differently to different vibrations.
Okay.
So I really try and focus on anything that's going to be grounding.
Okay.
I do play, sometimes I'll do my crown chakra
Uh-huh.
bowl, but I usually will play my root chakra bowl quite a bit. And then the drumming, I'll go over everybody and drum over them. So I have 4 different drums. I have an ocean drum, my buffalo drum, my elk
Wow.
drum, and I have a vegan drum. And they all have different sounds and they
Wow.
all create different vibrations. And so
Gosh.
different sometimes people will get like emotional
Uh-huh.
or they might get a headache.
Yes.
So there's different things, and it could be maybe you didn't drink enough water that day, or maybe something else happened before you got there. But
Uh-huh.
my goal is to center everybody and bring them down to the most important thing, which is being grounded. To me, you can't go up
Yes.
if you're not super grounded.
Right. Right. Sometimes will get a little headache like reading or something, and it's just that again, I need to reground myself. And my headache's fine or it goes away. And they're not horrible, but it's
Just
yeah, yeah. So that's so interesting. And I had no idea there were different sound bowls for different chakras.
mhm.
I learned so much. I love it.
Yeah, they all have notes and they're all associated. You know how our chakras have the
Yes.
colors? Well, there's a vibration for each one of those and a chant,
my
like a
goodness.
2-letter chant, like Ra, Nama. So there's all those different things that are connected to our chakras.
Uh-huh.
I think when I first started doing yoga and hearing about all of that, and this was very interesting actually, that I learned about the stone, when you hold a pendulum.
Yes.
So they did a chakra thing and if it rotated clockwise, it was in balance, and mine were going back and forth and up and down. I'm like,
you were all kinds of messed up.
Yep. So then I learned about rock reading, where you can do energy reading with your palm of your hand or your body with the pendulum, or I even had a rock given to me on a necklace. And it was from the beach, Cannon Beach in Oregon. My sister made it for me. And when I got it, I held it over my palm, and I was just like, I can't even remember what I was asking it at that particular moment, but it just started swinging. I'm like, so you don't specifically need a pendulum. Any rock will work.
Oh my gosh. We were up camping one time with my sister and a bunch of her friends. It was a couple years ago. And there was one of her friends there, and she's like, go find a rock and I'll make you a necklace. And I have one that she did for me downstairs. I'm going to have to go get it now
and try it.
Yes.
It
I
works.
didn't even think about that.
I didn't either.
Oh my gosh.
I think the reason that they do that, because I was thinking, what? This is so weird, because I thought it had to be a certain shape, or it had to be a certain this, or no, because those rocks come from the earth.
Yes.
And the earth is the best place to ground. And the best information that we get is either from the universe or the earth. And
my gosh.
It's all connected, right?
Oh, wow.
It's all connected.
Okay. When we're done.
And then you'll have to let me know how your rock reading is.
Yes. That's so cool. I had no idea. Yeah, I have it downstairs hanging in my bedroom. And it was just a random rock from the mountain that we found, and she twisted the silver. Yep, around it. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
There's just signs everywhere out there.
Right.
If we're paying attention.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to get caught up in the driving to work, or helping kids with homework, or doing this or doing that.
Living, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Surviving sometimes.
Surviving, yes. That seems to be about what most of us are trying to do now. That's so amazing. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with us today?
I just want to encourage everybody to really take a few minutes to each day to kind of explore. It doesn't have to be, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but just to sit with themselves and see what new things or new ways they can connect to spirit.
That's great advice, a great suggestion. I know that in my journey in the last just 2 years, I've really, really connected. And so much so now, my brain doesn't sometimes shut down.
Oh.
I have to say, okay, I'm not listening anymore. I'm done for today. Anyway, but it has helped me so much in life. And I can just that I am living my best life now. And I attribute that to the support and love from the universe, spirit, my guides, God, all of the above, and I just feel like that if people could really start connecting or figure out how to connect that works best for them, I just feel like there's just so much support there and people don't realize it. So yeah, that's great. Great advice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you, Stace, for coming and joining us today. And we are wrapping things up now. And if anybody has any questions about drumming, creating, what did you call it? The drum, you made your drum. What was that called?
Oh, the drum, you met where I did it?
Yeah.
I went to Creex.
Oh, okay. If anybody's interested in doing that, reach out. We can direct you to the people to do something like that. I think that sounds like so much fun and so amazing.
It's really fun to do with friends because it's such a great, you just, until you do it, it's hard to wrap your head around it, but it's a really good experience. I would always encourage people to do it.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm super interested in having my husband do that. That would be amazing. Awesome. Okay, thanks again, everyone.